Hello everybody, it's Paul Chek once again, and today I'd like to talk about supplement pros and cons. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have very confused ideas about my views on supplements, so I just thought I'd give you my overview of how I feel about supplements after 36 years of experience as a therapist, coach, and somebody who's involved with people that have all sorts of health and performance challenges, as well as somebody who's conditioned some of the best athletes in the world and still does. So it's a big topic. There's a lot of confusion out there. I'll start by saying, hey, guess what? The supplement industry is one of the biggest industries in the world. In fact, about 90% or more of all the supplements made in the world are manufactured by drug companies, Hoffman La Roche being one of the chief ones. So most people don't realize that the typical supplements they're buying are actually made by drug companies and are funding that same industry and suffer all the problems that drugs and some of the things I will get into here. While it's on my mind, there's a very good course on nutrition by David Getoff, ND, Getoff, through the Price Pottinger Nutrition Foundation, and he has a very comprehensive section on supplementation and blows the lid off of it, letting you know how much of that stuff is absolute trash out there. And many of the experts I've talked to, from Bill Walcott to many others, have highlighted the fact that a lot of the supplements that are being sold out there are probably not worth the capsules they're in or the price of the bottle that they're in. So we have to be careful with the sort of hype and marketing and scams going on. So I'm just going to give you an overview of my view of supplementation. First of all, organic whole food and free-range meats and wild-caught fish are your best source of nutrition. If you eat real food like that from real soil and eat wild-caught fish, you're going to be best off. Now, people say, Paul, there's no such thing as organic anymore. There's chemicals moving around in the air, radiation, and all that stuff. Yeah, that's true, but guess what? Organically farmed fields are far less toxic than commercially farmed fields. So relatively speaking, there's still the far best way to go. And yes, we do have problems in the ocean being very toxic, but guess who's doing all that shit? We are. And every time you put money into the hands of large corporations and people that are doing that sort of stuff, like commercial food manufacturers, you're part of the damn problem. So you can wait till there's nothing left to eat, or you can realize that the only way to fix the problem is to put your hands in the money of companies that have sustainable practices, such as organic and biodynamic farmers and other companies that are practicing sustainable, living, sustainable corporations. And there's quite a lot of them out there now. So you can get most of your nutrition from real food. Of course, there's going to be exceptions, whether it be an illness of some kind or something where a doctor might give you something to enhance your body to help it balance, or you go see a herbologist and they'll give you very specific herbs to help you balance. There's a time and a place for everything. I tell my students there's no such thing as a bad exercise or a bad drug or even a bad supplement, only an incorrectly prescribed drug, exercise, or supplement, or a lousy drug or a stupid exercise or a junk supplement. But in general, my philosophy is it's not whether it's good or bad, it's whether it's the right thing for you, and some of the other things I'll get into right now. Now, one of the things that very few people are aware of, which I learned from studying Royal Lee's teachings. Royal Lee was a genius inventor, a scientist, a dentist, and an expert in nutrition, and almost anybody that knows anything about nutrition knows who Royal Lee is. He was very much kind of like a parallel to Weston A. Price, and this is one of my favorite books ever written, and I have a lot of books on this very issue. It's called The Real Truth About Vitamins and Antioxidants, Health Science Series number 5 by Judith DeCava, MS, LNC. This book right here blows the whole supplement scam wide friggin' open. and it parallels the learnings I got from studying Royal Lee's work, which I've studied quite extensively and listened to probably 30 or more hours of his lectures that I was able to acquire on audio. So if you want to really get into it, read the book. But one of the things that Royal Lee showed very conclusively is that in nature there is no such thing as any isolate vitamin whatsoever. In nature, you have what are called vitamin complexes. A vitamin complex is a working system, and I'll give you an analogy for that in a minute. In a vitamin complex, you have proteins, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, enzymes, minerals, trace minerals, phenolics, terpenes, alkaloids, and probably other chemicals and agents that we haven't even identified yet. Remember, vitamins weren't even identified till the early 1900s by the Mayo Clinic, and I could tell you a whole story about that, but I talk about this more deeply in my Holistic Lifestyle Coach program. And for those of you out there that need a good general education, which is almost all of you, once you've studied my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, or in concert with it, you can take our Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 1 training program, which is specifically designed for the public, that shows you how to apply this information, implement it in your life, and more. And it's taught by me and my wife, Angie Chek, who is actually a licensed nutritionist and a highly trained shaman, and has multiple other degrees, such as a degree in energy medicine and a degree in biology to go with her nutrition degree. So she knows what she's doing. Okay? So a vitamin complex is a system that works together. And again, in a vitamin complex, you have proteins, fats, carbohydrates, minerals, trace minerals, vitamins, enzymes, phenolics, terpenes, and alkaloids, all working as a system. So to point this out, Royal Lee gives this example in his teachings. What part of a watch tells time? Well, most people say, when I ask them that question, even highly intelligent people, oh, the sweep hands. And I say, well, what's making the sweep hands move? The gears, what's making the gears move? The spring, what holds it all together? The housing, what protects the hands? The glass shield, what winds the spring? Some mechanism, be it a wind-up spring. What drives it? Maybe a battery, maybe eco drive, maybe kinetic drive. But the thing is that the whole watch is involved in the process. And in nature, vitamin complexes are integrated systems like a watch, and there's no such thing as an isolate vitamin anywhere in nature. It just doesn't happen. You have to take vitamin foods, plants, into laboratories and chop them down, which is reductionistic, classic reductionist science. And though there can be some applications for the use of isolate vitamins, they have to be used very carefully because they act like drugs in the body. And anytime you bring a vitamin level or any of the supplements, mineral, enzyme, etc., up to levels that are higher than the body needs for homeostasis, it has to be put through your detoxification system and can poison you just like any other toxin. When I was a kid, I had my first example of this. I'll never forget it. I was probably 14 years old, 13, 14, and I was heavy into weightlifting. And I was reading bodybuilding magazines, and they had the Joe Weider Mega Pack, which had very high doses of B vitamins and all sorts of stuff. And the first thing I noticed is it turned my urine dark, yeah, almost orange, and it stunk like hell. But after 5 or 6 days on that, I started to burn when I sweat and itch like crazy. And I was overdosing on vitamins, probably the B vitamins. And when I stopped taking it, I felt fine, and so I realized there was something in there that my body simply didn't like. And even when I took small amounts of it, I was pissing so much of the stuff out, it just common sense, well, my body must not be using that. And so the point I'm making is a lot of people have very expensive poop and very expensive pee. And another thing you'll notice, because a lot of my patients, I have them break up their poop with chopsticks to look for parasites, they regularly find that their supplements have not broken down. Some of the composites are pressed so hard they act like rocks and the body don't get broken down. Oftentimes you find the caps, the gel caps, have not broken down either. And then you've got another issue. You have to be very careful because people like me that are genetically allergic to beef, if you don't look to see if those are vegetable caps, you often are getting caps made of beef, pork, horse, and other things, and you can have very strong immune reactions to the supplement, not realizing you're reacting to something you have an allergy or an intolerant to. And when you're taking products that have lots and lots of stuff in them, like various superfood mixes, shake mixes, and stuff like that, oftentimes they have grains and grasses and things that your body's reacting to or that have gluten in them, and you might think you're eating something good but can't figure out why you're having all these problems like rashes, itching, mucus formation, eye dryness, and a long fingernails cracking, hair splitting, ... And so you have to be really careful to pay attention. And I teach in my holistic lifestyle training program at HLC2 and higher how to, figure all this stuff out. So for those of you that want real training, that's where you go, and you have to go through HLC1 to get there. So what I've said so far is eat real food from clean soils, and know that when you put your money in there, you're supporting the planet, and you'll get the nutrition, and that there's no such thing as an isolate in nature. And if you're going to use isolates, you got to be very careful and use them very specifically, because if you take too much, it toxifies your body, loads up your detoxification system, and acts like a drug in your body or a toxin in your body. And that's not a very intelligent way to spend your money. And if you look at David Getoff's course, he'll break it down for you, but there's all sorts of colorings, stabilizers, chemicals in there to keep the stuff lasting on the shelf. Oftentimes you get things like vitamin E, and they have low quality oils that oxidize, and you're taking poisonous stuff. One of the tips David Getoff gives is whenever you use any kind of oil, MCT oil, any of these things in the caps that they come in, always bite it, smell it, and taste it. And he shows, and I've tested this, a lot of the stuff's been sitting on the shelf so long it's rancid, but if you don't open the cap, you won't know, so you can actually be poisoning yourself with what you're paying for as a supplement. Okay? So one of the things that most people do need, which I use Bioptimizers, Bioptimizers.com, Bioptimizers.com. I have a podcast with Wade Lightheart where he goes into the science that they use to produce these enzymes and the various products that they produce, which are extremely high quality, which is why I encourage people to use them on my podcast. But most people are enzyme deficient from eating too much cooked and processed food. We get enzymes from the food we eat. We normally in nature did not cook our meat any more than just enough to kill the bacteria on it. So we used to eat raw organ meats, raw liver. Study Weston A. Price's work, or look at the book The Fat of the Land by Villemar Stephenson, or look at Paul Saladino's book The Carnivore Code, which just came out and is excellent. Listen to my podcast with Paul Saladino for one hell of an education on the nutrition in meat and organ meats and the flesh of the animal, nose to tail eating, and it will give you a lot more concepts to work with and educate you at a much deeper level, and his book is loaded with resources. There's 2 great podcasts with him and Ben Greenfield on Ben Greenfield's podcast as well. So what I'm saying is most of us are deficient in enzymes, and enzymes are catalysts in every biochemical reaction in your body, for which there's about 30 billion biochemical reactions a second. And if you're enzyme deficient, the whole thing starts to collapse, and you can have all sorts of health problems and run after all sorts of supplements and doctors and therapists for what could be fixed by just eating more organic raw foods to get more enzymes in your body, and or supplementing with high quality enzymes. Now, a simple test you can do that I use with my patients that I learned from studying naturopathic medicine is, if you want to find out if you're enzyme deficient, well, your first sign was you'll be gassy and you'll get bloated after eating, or you'll feel uncomfortable. So if you're having problems with gas, bloating, and discomfort after eating, then get yourself a lemon or a lime, squeeze the juice into a cup. Limes can be not that juicy if they've been on the shelf for a while, so a lemon's usually good. Squeeze a whole lemon into a cup, drink a third of that juice right when you start the meal, a third of it in the middle of the meal, and a third at the end of the meal. The enzymes in lemons are strong enough to help break food down very effectively. If you notice a decrease in your discomfort or your gas, that means you're enzyme deficient. Papaya can be used with meat, and so can raw pineapple, because the enzymes in pineapple and papaya can actually break meat down, but it has to be raw pineapple or papaya. And then you got to be careful. You've got a fungal or parasite infection, because the sugar in those things can feed the fungal and parasite infection. So you take one step forward and two steps backwards. So eating raw vegetables is particularly good. Some fruit, if you can handle it, with fungal and parasite infections, fruit's a death sentence. But so that's one of the most common things that I encourage people to supplement with. And sometimes if you're eating something that you want to eat but you don't do well with, it's good to use digestive enzymes to help break it down. For example, my body does not like corn in any shape or form. But our family ritual is popcorn night on Thursday night, which is tonight, by the way. And so I make a concession to enjoy some popcorn once a week, have fun with the family, and I use high quality Bioptimizers digestive enzymes. And I bring in some hydrochloric acid to help break them down, and I use another one to help break the carbohydrate down, and it decreases my body's reaction to something that's manageable. So enzymes can give you some freedom. Bioptimizers makes a great one called Gluten Guard that helps break gluten down. And I find that most people that are gluten intolerant can't eat gluten-free stuff without bad reactions, but Gluten Guard helps them eat things like gluten-free cookies and cakes and brownies and things like that. But enzymes are absolutely critical to all systems in your body. So supplementing with high-quality enzymes, if you have any symptoms of digestive discomfort at all, as I mentioned, is a very, very wise idea, and the lemon juice test is a great, simple test you can do. Now, most people are hydrochloric acid deficient, which is very, very dangerous, because hydrochloric acid is your chief defense against organisms coming in from the outside, be they funguses, viruses, bacteria, or parasites, because normally your stomach acid can go all the way down to 0.2, which is enough to melt a nail very quickly. It'll literally melt a nail, dissolve it. So if we're hydrochloric acid deficient, we cannot protect ourselves against infectious organisms coming in from the outside. So hydrochloric acid is very important, especially if you eat any amount of flesh foods and have discomfort with the kinds of things I'm talking about. And Bioptimizers makes excellent hydrochloric acid supplements as well. Now, we do have a toxic environment. We are living in a fast-paced environment, a stressful environment. We've got electromagnetic pollution, environmental toxicity. Research shows that it's 10 times less toxic outside any building than it is inside any building on average, even in places like New York City, because of outgassing of chemicals from glues, wood glues, carpets. The average carpet has about 132 carcinogenic chemicals that outgas very strongly for the first year. There's all sorts of chemicals. People are poisoning themselves with non-organic body care products, exhaust fumes, electromagnetic pollution. There's many, many things that are stressing the body, which means the more stressful the environment is, the better your diet needs to be, and the higher the quality of nutrition, and the more important it is to take care of your digestive system and your eliminative and detoxification systems. And remember, all the supplements at large are either synthetic copies of natural foods or they're extracted from food. So for example, you can take detox supplements, or you can just eat artichoke and dandelion and the things that those supplements were actually made from, and then you're getting all the other nutrition instead of the isolate stuff that they take out and break the food down, which oxidizes it and weakens it. So there is a time and a place for supplementation, but today we actually have good testing systems to determine what the levels of supplements are in your body, such as all the vitamins, enzymes, and you can test for some enzymes, but mostly you're looking at minerals, trace minerals, and things like that. And so you can do these tests, but the problem is that 99.9% of all the companies out there doing functional medicine testing that will test you and identify supplement deficiencies will just sell you the supplement, but not hardly anybody is asking the question, how did you become deficient in that supplement? Do you have heavy metal poisoning? Do you have environmental toxicity? Are you under heavy stress? Have you got mercury in your mouth? Are you wearing an IUD? Do you have metal in your body? I mean, the list is long. Do you have a fungal infection? Do you have a parasite infection? Do you have a bacterial dysbiosis? These are ways you can get very toxic, and these are things that consume lots of nutrition, like trying to get heavy metals out of your body, that leave you with supplement deficiencies and then begin to collapse your biochemistry. So even when the tests identify the supplement deficiency or the nutrient deficiencies, if you don't go after what the real etiology or cause is, you're just playing allopathic games with yourself and doing palliative medicine and then spending money on supplements for the rest of your life while you keep poisoning yourself or living an out of balanced lifestyle. So the Chek Holistic Lifestyle Coaching Program and the whole Chek system really teaches holistic medicine, and we go very deep into how to analyze a person's entire lifestyle and even their psychological profile. Especially when you get to Chek level 4, you do my Chek 4 quadrant coaching mastery. We get into all these things so you can really say, okay, what's really going on here? What's driving this person's supplement deficiencies? What's driving their stress levels up too high? How do we get to the actual root cause? Or are you just throwing pills in and wasting money and never really getting to the cause, which is really just poorly practiced allopathic medicine at best. So, now, people always ask me, what do I take? Well, what I take is a new chapter, whole food multivitamin for men 55 plus. I'm 58. I'll be 59 this summer. I'm getting up there. But I'm still healthy and I'm still strong. I can still lift heavy weights and run fast and jump high and do all these things, work a lot and get a lot done and think clearly. And so I don't take that whole food organic vitamin every day. I ask my body, using the very techniques I teach in my Primal Pattern Eating online course, which you can study, which comes right out of HLC2. It's about 8 hours of excellent training that anybody can follow and use, that teaches you how to read the body's responses to food, how to use muscle testing, how to connect to your soul to make eating a spiritual practice and get inner guidance so you know what supplements to take or not take, what doses, instead of reading bottles and assuming that you need that dose versus more or less, which can be problematic. So there's a lot of ways you can do that by studying my Primal Pattern Eating online. If you like that, then get through HLC 1 and come take the whole HLC2 course and get your mind blown with what you can do to help other people and make a good living doing it. Christ, the whole world's practically sick. If you can't make a living teaching holistic lifestyle coaching, then we need to give you a checkup from the neck up and see why you're afraid of making a good income and sharing your love with the world. So I take a whole food organic multivitamin from New Chapter as needed occasionally based on my body's requests. I use Wade Lightheart's Bioptimizer's enzymes to support as needed, not always. I use glutathione. I like to vaporize tobacco and herbs. It's sort of a joy of mine. When you're bringing in hot gases, or if you're a smoker or you're smoking pot a lot, anything like that causes free radical damage. Glutathione is the chief free radical protective device. And some of you may have seen that I used to have a spot on my face in some of my previous videos. That was from me vaporizing a lot. I could get rid of it by cutting out the vaporizing and doing more sauna work, but I just really enjoy my vaporizing. You know, I went through a midlife crisis from working myself to death and giving everything I had to the world and burned myself out. So when I turned 50, I had to figure out, you know, how to heal myself and balance myself from all that work. And one of the things I said to myself is, I can't make work fun, I'm not going to do it. And so I create joy for myself by using my alchemy set, using essential oils, the best essential oils in the world, Dr. Nick, essentialoilwizardry.com. Loads of great oils, and you vaporize a lot of them. They give you beautiful mental, emotional modulation. I have a whole arsenal of organic herbs I use, certified organic herbs. I use flower essences. I use clean tobaccos that are either grown organically or without chemicals. And so I experiment with ways to enhance mood, create mental clarity. But as a researcher on all this stuff, I'm doing a lot of it and testing, and too much of the solutes and oils got caught in my body. And my wife, Angie Chek, is a nutritionist, so she said, I think you should try some glutathione. And literally, over the next 2 weeks of taking I think I was taking 200 milligrams of glutathione a day. I watched that spot just disappear right in front of my eyes. So I do take glutathione 100 milligrams a night as a prophylactic or to support my body because I have a specific reason that I do that. And that's a choice I consciously make. I also use chlorophyll because it's great for the body, great to aid the detoxification systems. It's got many diverse effects in the body, and it's just a natural food. You can get it, at health food stores. You can get it at a lot of farmers markets, superfood manufacturers such as RR Superfoods and things like that. So that's just a good support. Now, things like garlic and ginger are very important because garlic and ginger both have great nutritional benefits. Garlic's great for the immune system, but both of those kill parasites. So if you use raw garlic and ginger regularly, it greatly reduces your risk of parasite infection. And if you're not eating high quality food regularly, or you're traveling around and eating in restaurants, I spent 20 plus years traveling all over the world lecturing, living out of restaurants and airplanes, and I got 2 or 3 bad parasite infections and had to do a lot of work to heal myself, clean myself up. And one of the things that you can do for prevention is use raw ginger and garlic, which is why when you go to a sushi restaurant, they always give you raw ginger because it kills parasites, and one of the fastest way to get parasites is eating raw fish. So I recommend that, and I use those as needed. And then another great approach is if you feel like your body's out of balance, go see a herbologist. A lot of acupuncturists are also herbologists. And find out what herbs you need to take to balance your body, but look carefully into what you're doing to throw yourself out of balance. Or you're just going to keep buying supplements to compensate, which I think I said is like pulling the tops off of weeds. You never get to the root and the weed just grows back and you're just wasting money. So I will conclude by saying there's no such thing as an isolate vitamin in nature. There's only vitamin complexes, and like a watch, the complex works as an integrated system. And what Royal Lee showed is whenever you take isolate vitamins, in order to use them, your body has to scavenge all the other parts of the complex, and what can result is you create other deficiencies in your body. So if you take a pile of B6, maybe because you think you have night blindness or carpal tunnel syndrome, which B6 is known to be helpful for, but you're not really looking at where you're not getting enough B6 from your diet and sources of that, then what can happen is the body has to scavenge all the other parts of the complex, and it can actually create other deficiencies, which is why it's very common for people to go to nutrition stores and say, I've got these symptoms, and they get these supplements, and then 2 weeks later they say, well, that feels better, but now I got this problem, and that just keeps the whole supplement industry making billions of dollars a year because no one's really looking at the actual cause of the problem. I shared that you can get tests done to isolate where you have nutrition deficiencies, but if you don't look into what's causing them, such as heavy metal poisoning, environmental poisoning, and all the things I talked about, then you're just wasting more money and you're just doing allopathic medicine and not holistic medicine. So those are the key points that I wanted to share. I hope that gives you an overview of what my philosophy is on supplementation. And I think that everything has a place as long as it's high quality and it's the real deal. I mean, junk is always junk, and most of the stuff out there is junk. And I recommended David Getoff's nutrition course if you really want to learn about the dangers of junk supplements and how to differentiate a good one from a bad one, which you can get from Price Pottinger Nutrition Foundation. I recommended HLC One Online, which helps you take my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, and you get not only that, but we teach you how to implement it in a series of digestible lessons with myself and Angie. And that really helps you get your body healthy and balanced, and we look at all the key things that you need to understand so that you can qualify, not only get yourself healthy, but you can qualify to take Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 2, our first level of professional training. And so when you put all that together and you remember that where you spend your money is your vote. The government's not going to fix these things because we don't have a government, we have a corporate headquarters, and it's a prostitution ring. So if you want to make changes, you got to do it with your dollar. And the way you do that is you get conscious about the fact that the more we damage the earth, the more we damage our food, our water, our air, and ourselves. And if you keep chasing after doctors and supplements instead of getting to the real issue, then you're missing the point. Start with the soil, keep the waters clean, raise the animals ethically and the plants ethically and morally, and then the wheel of life continues to roll. So that's my view on supplementation. Hope you found it and the resources helpful to you, and I'll look forward to sharing more with you soon. Thank you.